Hey, Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Now. It is Thursday. It is July 21st, and we are so close to the start of training camp. July 26th, do the math, 5 days away. If you know I'm excited because I'm counting them down, you've been watching this channel a lot, you get how exciting this is. And so with training camp just on the horizon, let's jump into my top 5 training camp stars going into 2022. Now, this is very important to emphasize. This is not who is a star going into training camp. This is who will be a star as you get through training camp, aka when you're browsing Twitter, when you're watching this channel, when you're on SportsCenter, listening to Philly Talk Radio. Who are the names that you're going to hear? My best guess is who's going to break out during training camp. A name they're going to hear, oh, this guy at practice said, this player looks really good. I'm going to try to take my guess at those players, the 5 we have today. If I'm right, then obviously you can kind of come back to this video and see that in future videos. But if I'm wrong, then you can also come back to this video and see where I was wrong. So let's jump into number 1. I think you're going to hear a ton about Kenny Gainwell this training camp. I think Gainwell is going to be a breakout star. Now, I'm still a Miles Sanders guy. I mean, I am a Miles Sanders guy through and through, and I hope he has a fantastic year. But I think they're going to emphasize Kenny Gainwell because he's the only running back signed through 2023. I mean, he has a contract next year. Sanders doesn't, and really anyone else is on this team so far, unless you're an undrafted free agent guy who makes the roster. But I think Gainwell showed massive strides last year. I think as a rookie in the 5th round, most guys overwhelmed. I think he played very, very well at times. I think health was a little bit of an issue, some tweaks that weren't serious last year. But I expect him to be a big part of this offense alongside Miles Sanders. But as you go through training camp, he's a name you're 100% going to hear as this kid's looking really, really good in year 2. We'll throw up Kennedy Brooks quickly, though, because I've also said I think Kennedy Brooks is going to have a good training camp. I think you're going to hear a lot from him. I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but I think you're going to see a lot of tweets and a lot of retweets from me about Kennedy Brooks possibly having a chance to make the roster. Don't be surprised if he beats out a guy like Boston Scott to be your running back number 3. Okay, add break pin comment as we get started today. Who will be a breakout star at Eagles training camp? Do you have a guess? Is it Gainwell? Is it somebody else? Let me know who you think will be a breakout star for the Eagles during training camp down below in the comment section right now. All right, let's go over to number 2, and that is James Bradberry, the cornerback that the Philadelphia Eagles just signed. I mean, literally, they just signed him a couple of weeks ago. And while I think a lot of defensive players are going to have really good training camps, I think Bradberry being such an underrated signing, he's going to have a ton of camp interceptions. I think he's going to be a breakout star. I think we're going to hear, plenty about Darius Slay, but I think the noise is really going to be all about James Bradberry. James Bradberry looks fantastic today. James Bradberry had a great interception. Bradberry this, Bradberry that. I think he is one of the most underrated signings in recent Eagles offseason history because yes, we've had a lot of signings that, you kind of look over and they turn out to be pretty good. You think back to Ronnie McLeod being a good example of that. But I think Bradberry is a star player, and we were just kind of, so excited about the rest of the signings, the A.J. Brown trade, the Jordan Davis drafting, and so on and so forth, that we overlooked Bradberry a little bit. And even though we were all excited, weren't as excited as we should have been, I think he's a massive addition to this football team, and I really think he's going to be a breakout star in training camp. I think the secondary in general, regardless of who plays safety, but most notably the 3 cornerbacks with Maddox in the slot, are going to be great this year. Drop a like down below if you're pumped to see the Eagles secondary this season. I think it's one of the better secondaries, one of the better cornerback groups Philadelphia's had almost in my entire lifetime since, Dawkins and Leo Shepard and Sheldon Brown whenever I was like a little baby child. Okay, number 3. I had to pick an offensive lineman here, and I think Landon Dickerson is going to absolutely flourish in year 2. We forget that it's year 2. I mean, this is a guy who was a rookie last year and was one of the better guards in the entire National Football League. I mean, his PFF run blocking grade is unbelievable. I mean, this was a draft pick that I was a little bit, I was like, ooh, you need a center guard in round 2 in 2021, and then he turned out to be fantastic filling in for Isaac Seumalo. I think he is going to be really, really good. Now, before we get into that offensive line depth chart quickly, we'll shout out to our friends at BetUS. As the season is fast approaching, you got to find out where you're going to be betting on football games. Your one-stop shop for all of the betting is BetUS and our friends who we, of course, have been with for, many, many years here at Chat Sports. There'll be a link on your screen. Just go ahead and use the promo code as well, Eagles125. Get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. You got to put the link in, and then, of course, whenever you are creating your account, put your $100 deposit down, use our promo code Eagles125. Get that 125% deposit bonus. That way you can start betting on the Eagles. You can bet on the Week 1 spread right now. I think Philadelphia -4 against Detroit sounds about right. Start betting, start winning some money. Get those bets in early for the Eagles. Now, as you look at this offensive line, it will be interesting to see where Landon Dickerson is going to play. right? Is he a right guard? Most likely, but he could be a left guard. Sure, he could be a left guard. I mean, right now you have 3 guards who are all kind of, working their way for 2 positions. Say Amalu, obviously Dickerson, and then you still got to include a guy like Cam Jurgens, who 100% could be in the mix to be a guard, right? Because Kelsey's healthy in what will most likely be his final year, he's your center. And even though technically Dickerson and Jurgens have played center in the past, you expect, obviously, to need those guys at guard first and then have a battle to figure out who plays center next. Probably, of course, Jurgens, because that was the most recent draft pick. So I'm pumped for Landon Dickerson. I think he has a really, really solid season. I think his entire offense has a great, great year for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially the offensive line, which is going to be top 5 in the NFL. Who is the best O-lineman on the Eagles right now? Is it Kelsey? Right? I mean, think about this. This is tough. Is it Johnson? Is it Kelsey? Is it Mailata? Is it Dickerson? Who's the best offensive lineman on this team? It's a luxury of having a bunch of them, but give me your best guess who you think is the best one overall on this roster. Okay, again, we're talking about people who I think you're going to hear a lot from over the next couple of days and weeks. So we're going to pop a little bit and have a lot of buzz around them. I think Jalen Reagor. And you forget that Jalen Reagor had a really good camp last year. And I'm betting he has a great camp this year. Now, he had a good camp last year, didn't transition onto the football field, and that stinks. And I've been probably one of the few Eagle voices who are saying, don't cut him yet, give him one last chance, maybe with A.J. Brown, year 2 Nick Sirianni, year 2 Devontae Smith, maybe it all comes together for Reagor this year. I think regardless of whether that happens, I think he's going to be well buzzed about and well talked about in training camp. And I think that he'll make the roster, and he's going to be given a shot. And it'll matter when we actually get to NFL games, week 1 against Detroit, week 2 against the Vikings, that's when you got to really, earn your keep. But I'm betting Reagor has a very, very, very impressive training camp. And honestly, again, I hope he does, right? I don't want him to be cut. I don't want him to be traded because that means the Eagles failed. That means Philadelphia drafted him, either overdrafted him or overdrafted him and couldn't develop him, or overdrafted him, couldn't develop him, and he, mentally couldn't figure out the National Football League. Like, I don't know what it is, right? I've said that many, many times before. I do not know what exactly is wrong with Jalen Reagor in terms of being a good NFL wide receiver, but this is his last shot, and I'm hoping he's a breakout star at training camp, but I'm also looking back at history, and he was one of them last year. Trust me, we talked about him a lot. I expect a lot from him, at least in training camp. We'll see during the actual regular season. Okay, final player on our list is Kyzir White, who you're excited about him being signed. He was one of the early signings for Philadelphia this offseason. He comes over from the Chargers. There's some buzz there, but in reality, he kind of got overlooked because you drafted Nakobe Dean, because, obviously you got some more defensive players, and you got Hassan Reddick. Like, he just got overshadowed. One of the earlier, signings, and a lot of other people came after him. But I think White was one of the better pickups the Eagles have had this year. Kind of like James Bradberry. A little bit overlooked, yet still very, very good. Still young. Still has potential to get even better. I think he is one of the starting linebackers on this depth chart. I think him and Davion Taylor are going to have an incredible camp battle. I think that's going to be one of the biggest, most underrated camp battles to possibly watch this season. But whether it's him or somebody else, the entire linebacker core is the best I've seen in like 10 years. I mean, it's been terrible in Philadelphia, as you guys know, for a very long time. And I think they're going to be especially good this year. I hope that they're good this year. And I think that White is going to be a breakout camp star who gets a lot of buzz. Now, we're not at the end of the video. We still have a couple of minutes left here, and yet we're done with all 5 of our my potential training camp stars. We must at least include a bonus and talk about Jalen Hurts for a second. I didn't include Hurts on this list because naturally the quarterback will be talked about on any football team more than any other player. He'll be the one that each drive will be broken down at practice, each interception, each touchdown, each throw, each ball placement. I mean, you're going to hear a ton about Jalen Hurts, so kind of unfair to include him on the list, but I do expect you to hear good things. And while you go back to the Derek Gunn report a couple of weeks ago talking about how he was bad in some minicamp stuff, I think you're going to hear a lot about how good he is. I think he's going to make a lot of great throws during training camp. I think they're going to light up the Dolphins in joint practices like they did last year, and I think we're going to come out of training camp expecting a lot from Jalen Hurts. And whether that's going to be good or bad, I don't know. In terms of overhyping him, underhyping him, I just think you're going to hear a lot about Jalen Hurts naturally. And so while we include him on my bonus list, he's not necessarily making the list because he's a quarterback, and you have to go ahead and talk about him. But I'm expecting good things. I'm expecting big things. I expect him to play very little in the preseason. I think he's going to play, maybe a series in the first game, maybe 2 or 3 in the second game. Will he even play in the third game? Who knows? Like, I think it's going to be very much treating him like the star quarterback of this franchise. Don't use him too much, and so you're going to have to find out exactly what he has week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, against the Detroit Lions. Excuse me, getting my teams mixed up there. But I think you're going to hear a lot from him, and I think it's going to be a lot of good stuff, and that makes me very excited. Okay, there you go. There's my list. Now, before we get into the end of the video, answer this final question. How excited are you for training camp? Because I'm at like 1,000, so you scale 1 to 10, we're going to like 8 million. I mean, I'm just so pumped right now for training camp. But give me your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you guys for training camp? Comment down below right now. Okay, I'll say it one more time. You got to be subscribed to this channel because we have so much content coming up next week. It's going to blow your mind. I mean, we're going to have so much actual news to report on it. You know, these off seasons are long. We're officially done with the off season. I'm very, very excited to see just exactly how good the Eagles can be and how fun this training camp will be. So go down below and subscribe. That way you guys are caught up to date on all the latest Eagles news and rumors. And stay tuned for a mailbag video taking place later on this weekend with plenty of great content and your, of course, subscriber mailbag questions. For Philadelphia Eagles Now, Thomas Mott, producer Patrick, signing off for the rest of your day.